Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. Welcome to another episode of Monday Masters. So, for today's episode, the name of the game is prep work. Now, if you have been a nail tech for any amount of time, you will know that prep is 90% of the game when it comes to making sure that your retention and your application looks as beautiful as possible. Obviously, there's other parts to the manicure, but we say this because if you are not doing really good, solid prep work and you're not laying that foundation as accurately and cleanly as you can, you're definitely gearing yourself up for some trouble. So I'm going to take you through 5 different steps that you should always be taking to ensure that your prep work is on point. Okay, we're going to talk about cuticle game, shaping, removing that shine, dehydrating properly, and your system selection, because I do think that is also part of your prep work. Let's get started. Okay, so the first conversation we're going to have is cuticle game, getting that perimeter on lock. So this is a client that is getting a rebalance, but I took a quick photo because I thought it was a really good example of a well-prepped nail. You can see if you look at the cuticle and you look at the sidewall area, it has all been treated. It is clean. That line is very crisp. This is really great prep work. So what that's going to do is allow me to paint and build right up to that perimeter, and not worry about getting too much flooding or problem areas. I can get that really nice, crisp, clean line. If you have any skin or cuticle or any kind of particles that are intruding on the perimeter of your nail, 9 times out of 10, this is where you're going to get flooding because your gel is going to skip over that and jump onto the finger. Whether you choose to do your cuticle and sidewall prep with an e-file, by hand, using cuticle removers, things like that, that is entirely up to you. That is your prerogative as a nail tech. I prefer to use an e-file because I feel like I can really treat the skin and kind of exfoliate it down very nicely and get a really super crisp, clean line. But again, this is going to be your choice on how you choose to work, as long as you know that you can get that real nice perimeter. Okay, let's talk about shaping a little bit. So this is my client's natural nail. She's very gifted. I've been working with her for a while. We've grown them out to a really, really nice length. But look how nice and smooth that shaping looks, right? There's a couple steps that I always take to really achieve that nice smooth line. And one of them is by using a 2 grit file. So this is the Kokoist 18240 diamond wood file. The one side is 180 grit, which is a little bit rougher, a little bit stronger. The other side is 240, which is very, very soft and smooth. So I always start with this file on the 180 side to kind of rough in my shape. And then as I get closer to this almond shape that I really want to achieve, I will switch to that 240 file to make sure that I'm really smoothly refining that shape and making sure I'm not leaving any kind of ragged edges around that perimeter. Again, we're really looking for super clean lines to apply our gel to, right? So another really good important fine tuning step is when I'm done with that 240 edge, I will file kind of underneath the nail. I wish I could show you guys a little bit better against the picture, but filing kind of underneath the nail a little bit just to make sure that all the edges are nice and smooth and you don't get those little kind of dangly fringes kind of hanging from the free edge of your nail. Eliminating those is going to make your life so much easier before you go in for your application. Third point here is going to be removing the shine from the surface of the nail. Now, as I said before, this is a rebalance client. So up to where you can almost see a little bit of delineation, I do have some existing product on that nail. If I did not have existing product on the nail, honestly, the technique would be about the same. You really want to make sure that there is no shine on the surface of that nail. Rule number one in nails is shiny, don't stick to shiny. So we really want to make sure, whether you are using a buffer or a sanding band, something to just kind of gently take that surface shine off of the natural nail and the existing product, and making sure that it blends into that natural nail if you do have existing product there, is paramount to making sure that your bases and builder gels are going to fully adhere. Choosing whether you want to work with a buffer or a sanding band is again kind of a pick your own adventure thing when it comes to being a nail tech and working against your integrity. Working with a buffer is going to be much softer, much safer, much less potential for damage to the integrity of the natural nail, especially if you're working with somebody who has very soft, weak, very pliable nails. You might want to be erring on the side of caution here. Cocoa's products do not require sanding. They don't require any kind of texture to the natural nail to get optimal adhesion. So this is perfectly acceptable. There are a lot of people that are over here on the side of sanding, myself included, that would prefer to use something like a sanding band to very, very, very lightly texturize the natural nail. We're not digging, we're not doing anything crazy. It's just adding a little bit of texture and it's allowing us to kind of blend and reduce that existing product as well. But by doing that, by kind of making sure we're taking every step we can to prevent lifting and kind of delamination in the future from that product, if I have to continually remove lifting and delamination and reprep that product every time, or reprep that nail every time the client comes back in, this is going to create compound damage down the road. So a little bit of texture today to prevent compounding damage in the future. Again, this is completely a decision that you get to make as a nail technician. I typically reach for the sanding band, but there are also times when I prefer to use a buffer. Choosing whether you want to work with a buffer or a sanding band is again kind of a pick your own adventure thing when it comes to being a nail tech and working against your integrity. Working with a buffer is going to be much softer, much safer, much less potential for damage to the integrity of the natural nail, especially if you're working with somebody who has very soft, weak, very pliable nails. You might want to be erring on the side of caution here. Kokoist products do not require sanding. They don't require any kind of texture to the natural nail to get optimal adhesion. So this is perfectly acceptable. There are a lot of people that are over here on the side of sanding, myself included, that would prefer to use something like a sanding band to very, very, very lightly texturize the natural nail. We're not digging, we're not doing anything crazy. It's just adding a little bit of texture and it's allowing us to kind of blend and reduce that existing product as well. But by doing that, by kind of making sure we're taking every step we can to prevent lifting and kind of delamination in the future from that product, if I have to continually remove lifting and delamination and reprep that product every time, or reprep that nail every time the client comes back in, this is going to create compound damage down the road. So a little bit of texture today to prevent compounding damage in the future. Again, this is completely a decision that you get to make as a nail technician. I typically reach for the sanding band, but there are also times when I prefer to use a buffer. Okay, point 4 is dehydration. See how dry my friend's finger is right here? We need that. We need that really, really effective, very thorough dehydration and cleansing of the nail plate and the surrounding skin to remove those surface oils to make sure that they are not going to impede the adhesion of our gel application. And my best recommendation, what I always reach for with this, is very simple, and it is isopropyl alcohol, but it needs to be 91% or higher. The reason this needs to be 91% or higher isopropyl alcohol is when you get down into those lower percentages, typically we see like 70%. What is being added to those isopropyl alcohol products is things like water, colorants, scents, moisturizers, vitamin E, things like this, all things that will leave a film or a residue on the nail plate and ultimately impede your adhesion. So after you've completed these 4 steps, you are pretty much ready to rock and go for your system selection. Now let's talk about system selection. Now, what I mean by system selection is choosing the right product for your end user. Now, this might mean having to choose something to accommodate for a weaker nail, a stronger nail, a shorter nail, a longer nail. This may even be something that changes and evolves as you kind of develop your relationship with your client and their nail needs change. So, for instance, I know that there are a lot of people out there that swear, live, and die by the Nail Thoughts 3-in-1 tinted builder bases. These are fantastic bases, builders, and colors all in one. I love using them a lot too, but there are some reasons why I may not want to select this product for a client. Now, yes, this is a builder, but if you're at all familiar with the Kokoist line of builder gels, then you will know that we have varying degrees of hardness. We don't have a straight up hard gel, but we have varying degrees of hardness within this soft gel line, which means that there are going to be different hardness scales that are going to benefit different people better. The Nail Thoughts tinted builder bases sit around like a 3-4 on a scale from 1 to 10 when it comes to the scale of hardness that this product can deliver. This means that it really self-levels beautifully. The application is wonderful. It is typically what most people need when we're talking about doing natural nail overlays because it's got that hardness and it has that flexibility as well. So it's also really beneficial for weaker nails that need a little bit of that kind of bend and flex to move with the nail. However, if I have a client that has been using Nail Thoughts builder bases for a while, their nails are really healthy, they start to grow longer, the client is really feeling themselves, they want to move into a longer length and not shorten them anymore, this may start to be not enough hardness, not enough strength to support that new length of the natural nail. So this is when I would take that client and switch them to the platinum filler base. Now this one is a little bit harder. We're moving up that scale of hardness. We're at like a 6-7, so a little bit stronger. This is really great for natural nails that have a lot of length, or even if I have a client that's kind of hard on their nails, maybe their hands are very demanded of in their everyday life, so they need something a little bit more sturdy. This is also your HEMA-free option in the Kokoist line. So if you have a client that is concerned about using builders that are HEMA-free, you can reach for the platinum filler base. It also contains platinum nanocolloids, which helps to prevent cross-contamination from service to service. So it's going to make them feel even more comfortable. But even still, this is not the hardest product that we have in the Kokoist line. So if we are finding that this is just not delivering enough strength, maybe we want to sculpt a really long nail, maybe we're just doing a really, really long overlay and we want something super duper durable. This is when I would swap out the platinum filler base for the Excel Builder Clear, this potted builder gel. This one sits at about an 8 out of 10 on that hardness scale. Super sturdy, really great for strong overlays, really great for sculpting and extensions, and it's going to give you a lot of rigidity, which is great if you are doing longer nails. Probably one of the most common questions that we get in the Kokoist DMs and the comments is, do I need to use a primer with these products? Now, this is very common and it is a very valid question. The answer is no, ultimately. Primers are built into these Kokoist bases and these Kokoist builder bases so that you don't need to purchase an extra product. It doesn't need to take an extra step. You can go straight in with your builder and apply it straight to the nail. The only exception there is going to be with the Excel Builder Clear. This one you do need to do a coat of our Mega Stick base. This one is the softest, stickiest, most highest adhesion product that we have in the line. So even if you are working with this Nail Thoughts Builder base or the Platinum Filler base, a lot of us really like to do a coat of Mega Stick base as kind of an insurance layer. So you can skip a primer, but if you really want to be sure that you're getting the most optimal adhesion out of this line, Mega Stick base is your best friend. Now, I think that system selection is part of your prep work. You need to be able to consult with your client, say, okay, what are your needs out of your manicure? What kind of lifestyle do you need? Where maybe have you had issues with manicures in the past? Or even if they are returning clients and you are seeing maybe some delamination, some lifting, some service breakdown when they come back, you may need to switch to a system that better suits their needs. All right, so there you go. 5 key points, 5 really good things to stop and say, okay, did I do my cuticle work? Did I do my shaping? Is my shine removed? Did I dehydrate? Is this the proper service, the proper product selection for this client? 5 kind of questions that you can ask yourself before you go in for your application techniques that are really going to help to make sure your manicures are doing the best work they can for your clients. And as always, if you guys have any questions whatsoever about this topic, we have our cute little comment section down below. You can leave your questions in there and we'll do our very best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Other than that, I hope you have a super amazing work week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you right back here in 7 days for another episode of Monday Masters. Take care.